Welcome to another episode of 3 Years On. In this episode, we'll be looking at the people who have helped shape the rebuild of Christchurch and have inspired thousands of others around the city with their creativity, leadership, and generosity. Coralie Wynne created the organisation Gap Filler, which fills the gaps where buildings used to be with art, projects, and events.
So Gap Filler was something that we started after the September 4 quake, so it was actually quite a long time ago. And there were three of us that came together, and we wanted to, we could see gaps appearing around the city. And after the September quake, it was gaps, whereas of course after the February quake it was blocks. And it was, we could see the city was dying, and we thought, well, how can temporary activity bring life to the city, and how can more everyday people be involved in the recovery and do something, and how can the temporary activity support local business but also allow us to try new ideas and experiment and sort of feed what we learn back into the rebuilding process.
Gap Filler has received a lot of public response and spread happiness and culture back into the wrecked city. After such a large-scale disaster, many people felt the urge to step up anonymously and help others out. One student in particular took this one step further.
Basically, I've been doing this for 2 years, and ever since the earthquakes, I kind of wanted to help out the students, because I was crashing on my friend's couch and I was using their power, using their food, and so I wanted to give something back to the students. And so I just came up with this random idea to deliver food packages, and it kind of just snowballed. Like, it started with one, and then I decided to call it, delivering to flats, so I decided to call it Flat Man.
Christchurch has quickly found itself having its very own superhero. Flatman has his own website, Facebook page, and thousands of avid followers. Flatman anonymously drops care packages to those in need. Ordinary people began to step up and lead others. A prime example of this is Sam Johnson, the founder of the Student Volunteer Army.
The Student Army was one of many pretty remarkable responses that happened after the earthquake. It was started through a Facebook page, and a team of us, we worked to coordinate a desire to volunteering. And I think what we've seen in natural disasters right across the world, and as Christchurch serves as a leader, a real leader in disaster preparedness and disaster response, that actually people want to help in a disaster.
These three different people all have the same sort of idea. Help our city out of this time of crisis through generosity, strength, culture, and positivity.
We've done lots of different projects, and everyone is different. It's different in size or scale or nature or location.
So the Student Army really for me wasn't anything terribly remarkable. It was people wanting to contribute, people wanting to help. And all as we created was a system and a structure whereby people could simply and in a straightforward way contribute to the recovery and the response.
And other installations like a book exchange in an old big refrigerator or a painted piano.
It was remarkable just to see the interactions that happened. See the cup of tea on the side of the street, see Granny coming out and actually in tears about what was happening, seeing people contribute. And that was the most remarkable thing for me about the earthquakes. And for me, it's the most remarkable thing about Christchurch right now. We're a city that helps each other. We're a city that wants to contribute to the recovery, and we care about each other.
Some of our past projects have been community-based projects, so the Littleton Patong Club or a chess set in Sydenham, where we created community space from just found objects or recycled stuff usually. We've done event-based projects like a cycle-powered cinema where people could ride in their own bikes and pedal to generate power that would project the films, and all the films were cycle-related, and the Gap was a cycle shop. So that was a project that we actually created, but it only ran for 2 weeks.
So we had 11,000 students in total who contributed over 5 different cleanups and moved the weight of the Empire State Building from Christchurch.
And so now I visit kids, 5-6-year-olds in primary schools and kindergartens. I go teach kids about the power of random acts of kindness and how to be nice to each other and to look after each other. So it's really cool.
We've run lots of outdoor cinema and different sort of projects in some way as well, and live music. Done a dancer mat, which is a coin-operated dance floor thanks to an old laundromat washing machine. So you put in $2 and plug in your own phone or iPod or anything with a headphone jack, and you get half an hour of lighting and sound, which is pretty cool. And that project was trying to respond to how many dance spaces we've lost.
But yeah, so I wasn't at uni last year. We worked on a big project called The Concert, where we organised a music concert for 8,000 people, where you volunteered 4 hours of work and that got your entry ticket to a concert. And now working with the Volunteer Army, the Ministry of Awesome, still do quite a lot of work with international disaster space. And I'm very lucky I get to represent Christchurch.
And then we've done artist space projects, so working with large-scale murals or art installations. We are developing a project called Recycling, which mashes together cycling and recycling. So it's about taking old bicycles that don't work and making them work again, and involving lots of different people. Maybe we might make some crazy, massive bicycles, I'm not sure, but it will be about trying to get more people cycling in our city. We're also developing a project called Musical Streets, which will involve making musical instruments out of old stuff and putting them around the city.
You've got to do what's best for you. And with our team and with what's happening in Christchurch, this is an incredible opportunity to make sure that we do what's best for us as young people. What's the best thing that you can do? What's the best and biggest and most amazing contribution you can make to the world? And actually think about what can you be the very best in the world at.
Since it's kind of got in the media and stuff, I can, got the costume, and I can kind of come out into the daytime more often and do more drops for families and stuff. I mean, it's kind of moved from students to sort of everyone. So I kind of, drop off to families and things like that. I really love doing the visiting schools, because the kids just go crazy. They're like, you're cooler than Batman, like, can you adopt me? Can I go for a ride in your car? And so I love doing the schools.
So the pallet pavilion is a pavilion which is basically just it is a building, but it's just a form, a structure. It has no roof, and it's made from about 3,000 wooden pallets, which we borrowed from a pallet company. It's a venue for live music and community events. What can we make using something that already exists, so pallets, that can be a structure to use for events for a short time? It was built by more than 250 people. About 100 of those people would be classified as young people, so under 25, I guess, which is pretty cool.
And at the end of the day, you bring everything down to a very human level, and does it feel right, what you're doing? If it doesn't feel right, that's the moment you should stop. And I think 3 years on, for a disaster, that's our biggest challenge. We've got a lot of the boring stuff, the roads, infrastructure, all that great. We've got to be repaired. But the social stuff is what is most important. How do we get people better involved on a social level, on a human level? How do we get people to relate to each other and people?
But some of these projects would never have happened without the hordes of people who have been involved. Hundreds upon hundreds of volunteers have banded together to help our city rise from the rubble.
Even though we're young people, even though we might not have qualifications, even though we might not have a proper job, we've got a voice, we've got a brain, and we've got to speak up. We've got to encourage our peers to speak up and really express our opinions. And that's the most important thing in a rebuild, that actually everyone is engaged in it, and that everyone has the opportunity to be involved and make a difference.
Basically, I've got a flatman lawyer who's turned it into a charity, which is really cool. So then it kind of be a bit more, it's a bit more legit and things like that. So
the volunteer list we have is about 250 people, but they are all kinds of people, and I find that really interesting about Gap Filler is you can't just say, oh, they're arts people, or they are young people, or they are professional people, or whatever.
At the moment, I've been doing it for 2 years, and I've paid for everything for those 2 years. I've had help from Pack and Save for about 4 months. They were giving me some money for about a 4-month period, which was awesome. It meant I could do a lot more drops and visit a lot more people. Stadium Cars have helped. They gave me a Camaro, which is like the sickest car ever. And then I've had donations recently from an online Give a Little website. I'm doing winter packages, specifically for people who are still struggling from the earthquakes. And so the donations have come from right around New Zealand, so, and across the world as well, from Australia, UK and things. So yeah, that's really cool as well.
Because every project's different, it means that it's going to appeal to different kinds of people.
In Christchurch, that's what we need to do. We need to share more. It's the basics of life, the things that your grandparents tell you that actually older people in Christchurch, institutions do wrong. It's like protecting their own interests. It's very complex. You've got to be a bit more human about it.
People have remained at the core of our city no matter what else we have lost. Our spirit and strength is what has pulled us through these trying times.
You know, after the earthquakes, the rah-rah, who's who in the zoo, of which school you went to and where you're from, that all disappeared. It didn't matter. Everyone's in Christchurch together. We're in this ship together. We either sink or swim together. And that was remarkable in the earthquakes that we all swum.
And Christchurch is an amazing place to live, and it still is. And so I just wanted to give back to the people that were sort of really staying in Christchurch and giving it a real go.
The idea behind Gap Filler is to lead by example, to try new things, and that hopefully that will inspire other people to do things too. They might go, oh, we saw this project, we might do something like that. And that's actually where it gets really exciting, because it's about more and more people doing things in the city.
And the other big principle is that people are just people. We saw after the earthquakes that didn't matter if you're the Prime Minister, or if you're the Mayor, if you're a major bigwig CEO, you're a parent, you're a teacher, or you're at primary school, at intermediate school, if you're on the dole, it doesn't matter. Everyone was level. We're put in the same situation where you are able to contribute to the disaster together. So we say people are just people. You've got to set goals. You've got to strive to be the best you can, and realise that our little team realised, and I certainly realised, that the people in the main leadership positions in Christchurch and in New Zealand, around the world, I've seen that post-disaster, are just people. And they've worked hard to get to their position, but they don't necessarily know all that more than you do in a disaster, because the world changes so quickly.
Basically, well, that's where my slogan, be a brave, share the love is, and that's basically what it is. Like, as long as you can look after yourself, your family and your close friends and things, then you should be able to give everything else to other people, and you get so much joy from being able to make someone else smile or being able to give someone something. And it doesn't have to be money, or it could just be your time to go around to visiting friends or doing something special for someone, and that's basically what it is. Just help people because it's the right thing to do.